Have you ever wondered what it's like to work in law enforcement? Here on Behind the Star, we share stories about the Orange County Sheriff's Office, Central Florida's largest law enforcement agency. From forensics to dispatch to the deputies on patrol, we'll talk to the brave men and women who protect our community. This is Behind the Star, the official podcast of the Orange County Sheriff's Office. Welcome to Behind the Star. I am your host, Jon Busdeker, the official storyteller here at the Orange County Sheriff's Office. And before we get to my guest, I want to thank everybody for the feedback that we've got for Behind the Star. We've seen your Facebook comments and your Twitter retweets and all that. We really appreciate it. But I do want to say thank you to one particular person. I got a message the other day on LinkedIn, and I won't go into the details because he has another job here in Central Florida. But he said that he applied to the Orange County Sheriff's Office and he's trying to become a deputy, and he started listening to Behind the Star, and he's really motivated to become a deputy. So I'm really appreciative of that. And so thank you so much for sending that message in, and we appreciate all of our listeners. And so this week I'm really excited because every day I walk into the Sheriff's Office, and I generally walk by this man's office and I say hello, and I'm always wanting to know exactly what he does, and so that's why I'm here today. So we're here. This week's episode, we have Undersheriff Mark Canty. Thank you so much for being on Behind the Star.
Thank you for having me.
So Undersheriff, so we're going to start off with the very basic level. As I said, I walk by your office almost every day when I come to work. It's just sort of the way I take in. I try to say hello when I can. But Undersheriff, what exactly is the Undersheriff, and what does the Undersheriff do?
Well, I kind of joke. It's kind of exactly what it says. I work under the sheriff. I assist the sheriff with the day-to-day operations of the sheriff's office. Most of all our resources report in some way to me, whether it's our Operations Services Bureau or Administrative Services Bureau. They report directly to me, and then and they're both headed by chief deputies. And then I have our Professional Standards Division, our Strategic Communications, our CFIX and Criminal Intelligence Group, and our fiscal management and legal team all report directly to me.
So you get all the emails and the correspondence, they get all sent to you, and then you sort of deal with all that.
Right. I try to filter out and give the sheriff the things that he needs to know and needs to deal with, and that way he can run the sheriff's office appropriately. So I'm another level of eyes for him.
So are you in communication with Sheriff Mina every day, or do you have like a set meeting with him at certain times a day? Or?
We have a set meeting. We have a standing meeting that we have every other week, but I have the ability to contact him at any time, whether it's during business hours, after hours. We trade phone calls, we trade text messages, and we also meet in person several times a day or several times during a week. So
let's go back a little bit. I try to do this with everybody that I have on the show. You've been at the sheriff's office not that long, correct?
I've been here 6 months.
6 months. You've been here about as long as I have. I
Right.
feel like maybe a little bit longer. How did you end up here at the sheriff's office?
Well, I worked at the Atlanta Police Department for 22 years, where I worked directly with the sheriff when he was the chief of the Atlanta Police Department. I served him as his first staff director when he first was appointed chief. Then I got promoted to captain and went back to patrol. He then brought me back to his staff as the Professional Standards Division Commander as a captain, which I had internal affairs, training, planning, and fiscal there. Did that for about a year, and then there was a vacancy, and he recommended me to Mayor Dyer to be appointed as a deputy chief. So for the last year and a half of my time at the Atlanta Police Department, I was a deputy chief there over the Administrative Services Division, which included included recruiting, support services, the comm center, and information technology. So when he got elected, he gave me a call and said, "Hey, I'd like you to come with me to the sheriff's office." And I said, "Absolutely, sounds like a good opportunity." He said, "Hey, I want to make you my undersheriff," which I kind of didn't realize kind of how big of a deal it was, but just thought it was like being another deputy chief. But came over here, and now I assist him every day with running the agency.
And we'll get to some of that. I'm curious about sort of how your job is different now than it was before. But before we get there, we're actually sitting in your office right now. It's a nice office. You get to see outside. You get a window. I don't have a window in my office, but maybe when I'm Undersheriff one day.
I got a nice view of the parking lot.
You do, yeah. We are here at John Young Parkway and West Colonial Drive, so you get to see the Checkers and the mobile gas station. And, it's a beautiful, beautiful view. But I'm also looking at some of the things that you have around your office, and I see a helmet here from Northwestern. Why do you have that?
Well, in 1990, when I graduated from high school, I got a full football scholarship to play football for the Northwestern Wildcats.
Really? So what position did you play?
I was a running back.
Oh, okay. All right. So tell me about your career as a college football player.
Pretty uneventful. I think probably the biggest thing at the time, Northwestern was not very good, but I saw it as an opportunity to get a great education while also still getting to play a game that I love. So I went there, played all 4 years there, got my degree in 4 years. I have a degree in education and social policy, and it was a great time. I mean, playing football was fun. I played with their current coach now, Pat Fitzgerald. So I still follow the team when they play. So it was a great opportunity. I learned a lot as a college football player. I mean,
did you play all 4 years?
Yep, I played all 4 years.
And you were running back that whole time?
Yep.
Were there any particular games that really sort of stick out?
No, because I think it's, didn't have the kind of career that I would have liked to have. It didn't have an NFL-type career, but like I said, I learned a lot about teamwork and being part of a team and discipline. And I think a lot of the things I learned there helped me out here. And I actually got to meet some pretty famous people. I think Mike Ditka came and talked to our team during one training camp. Also had the opportunity to meet Walter Payton when he showed up in our locker room during halftime. Nice. At one game. So very, very great time in my life.
We should mention, if you're not familiar, Northwestern's in the Chicago area,
right.
Correct? Yeah.
Yep. Big Ten. So Chicago's Big Ten team. So
now, did you grow up in Chicago area?
Nope. I grew up here in Orlando. My dad was in the military. My mom is from Orlando. My dad met my mom in Orlando when Baldwin Park was an Air Force base. Even before it was a Navy base, it was an Air Force base. So they met here, then traveled all around the world. I was actually born in Germany, on a military base in Germany. When my dad retired from the Air Force, they decided to come back to Orlando because my mom's family was still here. So we made this home.
So where did you go to high school?
I went to West Orange High School. That's the other helmet.
That's okay. Yeah, there's two helmets. I should say that one doesn't have a logo on it, so it's just a blue and orange helmet. So
I'm West Orange Warriors. So
nice.
I support them, and they just beat Evans Friday, so that's good.
Rubbing it in, I guess.
Yep. So, so grew up here, went off to college, decided to come back. I wanted to make kind of an impression on my hometown.
So were you a running back in high school as well?
Yep.
All right.
I played both ways. I did play linebacker some in high school too, but primarily I was a running back.
Okay. So when you went off to college, did you have this idea that you wanted to be a law enforcement officer?
Nope. The first dream obviously is I wanted to play pro football.
All right.
So that didn't happen. And initially I thought about I was going to get into business. And that kind of changed near the end of my college career, where I decided I wanted to either be a teacher or work with kids. So I kind of did that for a little bit right after college. I worked for the Urban League here locally, where I worked in a residential program, did that for about a year and a half. I worked for the Urban League, and right up until the time I got hired by the police department.
So you moved right back to Central Florida after you finished school?
Yeah, as soon as I graduated, I got back, and my parents came pick me up, and we came right back to Orlando.
Too cold for you up in Chicago?
It was very cold. I got used to after the first 2 years were absolutely terrible because I wasn't used to it. And even though I had lived in Germany, I had lived in some other places, just wasn't used to it. And then the last 2 years, I kind of figured it out. I knew how to dress and how to layer, but Chicago is really cold.
I assume they play outside, Northwestern.
They do.
They don't have a dome.
They don't have a dome. And I think my first year, I remember practicing for a game, and it didn't snow, but it was very cold, and it was raining, and it was like, and that week we were actually going to play, I think, Minnesota in the Metrodome. It was like, we're going to be playing inside. Why are we out here? And I was like, I could just go back to Florida. And right now it's probably 80 degrees in Orlando. It's like, but my parents advised me it's better for me to stay and kind of stick it through, which I did, and which was the best decision I made. So
yeah, I grew up playing football too, not to your level, but I grew up in the Detroit area, and so I was used to playing out in the cold and the rain and the snow.
Yeah.
But I could imagine coming from here, like, every game it's like summer,
right?
And then you get there and you're like, oh my gosh, it's 20 degrees out. My hands are freezing.
And there's still guys that play like no sleeves, like no long sleeves, no gloves, and I'm like, you're crazy.
Yeah, they think they're tough, but
ideal football weather for me is like 72 degrees.
Yeah. So when you moved back here, you worked for the Urban League. At what point were you like, you know what, I want to be a deputy or an officer?
I think I just working with kids. I think, and most of those kids had been in trouble with the law on some level, and saw it as, hey, if I was an officer, maybe I can make an impact before they got in trouble.
Okay.
So I had a friend that worked for the Atlanta Police Department, and she encouraged me to apply, and I eventually did. And I had one of my high school teachers knew someone at the police department, so I had a couple of people to contact, and they kind of helped me kind of navigate the application process and put me in touch with a recruiter. And it was like, from then on, it was like just smooth sailing. It was something I thought I could make an impact on the community if I was an officer. Did
your parents have any reservations about it? Or like, why would you want to be?
They thought I was crazy. They thought it was way too dangerous. It was, they were quite fearful because, I mean, Orlando's not a bad place, but I mean, we have our share of crime here.
Yeah.
So they are obviously concerned about me being a police officer and going out there and carrying a gun, and other people having guns. So they're very concerned.
All right. And then how long were you on patrol, I guess, when you got – so you started at OPD.
I started at OPD. I did 2 years in regular patrol, about 2 years in regular patrol. Then I went to what they call Neighbor Patrol Unit, which was a bike / community-oriented policing unit that worked some neighborhoods on the west side of Orlando. Did that for about 2 years. Went back to patrol, did about 3 years that time. And during that time I started as a field training officer. So I started training new officers that were coming on. Did that for 3 years. Then had a desire because of I always wanted to be kind of a teacher. So I had a desire to kind of teach people how to be a police officer. So after doing 3 years more in patrol, I went to training as a field training coordinator where I scheduled all the training. I coordinated all the training for the new recruits that were coming on. Did that for 2 years. Then had an opportunity to work at the police academy as the class coordinator for the police department. And basically there you're almost kind of like part teacher, part drill instructor, part mentor. So I ran a class which typically was about 50 recruits, both from Orlando Police, Orange County, and people that were putting themselves through the academy. Did that for another 2 years. During that time, I also got promoted to sergeant. So did that for years as a sergeant, and then eventually came back, went to our Paramore bike unit, which was another bike unit in the Paramore area. Did that for about a year and a half. Enjoyed that because, again, back working with the community, helping people out, helping with quality of life issues, and not just arresting people, but really making an impact on people in the community. Did that for a year and a half, and then I think from there I went to our patrol TAC unit, which is our tactical anti-crime unit, which is really focused on attacking violent criminals. Like focused on getting those violent people, the people that were dealing with guns and robberies and were victimizing citizens. And I think this was during Chief Val Deming's time, where her big focus was on violent crime. So did that for just about 2 years, and then I went to criminal investigations as a property sergeant, where that was a little bit different because all my time before, except the time at the academy, was spent out in the street, doing things on the street. This was more administrative and more investigative, but learned a lot about how crimes are solved and how we look at statistics and how we look at different trends and how to fight crime and how to deploy our resources. So a lot of times, a patrol officer, he just responds to calls. When you call 911, patrol officer goes.
Yeah, they go right to the scene.
So based on the numbers and what you see in CID, you determine, hey, this is a trend, so now I need to direct resources to this particular area because they're having, an increase in vehicle burglaries, or another area might be having an increase in and robberies, or another area might be having some commercial burglaries. So kind of learned that a little bit as a sergeant in CID. Did that for about 11 months, and then I was fortunate enough to get promoted to lieutenant, which is great. It's also bad because then you end up going back to midnights, but
I've heard that. Explain that. I didn't know this before I got here, that you sort of get shifted around when you get promoted.
Every time you get promoted, you kind of go back to your start. The most important job at any police department, sheriff's office, is patrol, because those are the people, patrol officers, patrol deputies. Those are the people that most people see when you call 911. They're the ones that typically show up at your door as a patrol officer. So that's our basic function. Every police department, no matter where they're at in the country, or every sheriff's office, no matter where they're at in the country, has to be able to do a patrol function, meaning respond to calls, take reports, and things like that. So typically when you get promoted to the next level, you go back to that. So now you've been a patrol officer or a patrol deputy, you get promoted to sergeant or corporal, you typically go back because now you want to learn the job from that perspective.
Okay.
Same thing when you get promoted to lieutenant, you go back as a watch commander because now you're in charge of a portion of the city or a portion of the county, which may be like for Orange County, a sector is, like Sector 2 is pretty much the entire east side.
That's huge.
Of the county. So everything, say everything east of Cimarron Boulevard is Sector 2, So that's from the north part of the county all the way to the south part of the county. So there's one watch commander that's in charge of all that. So you go back, you learn. Essentially, you're the chief of police or the sheriff at night on midnights because you're the highest ranking person out there, and you're making all the critical decisions. So when something bad happens, you're the first level of management that's saying, hey, this is what the sheriff's office is going to do.
So when this goes back to when you were on patrol as an officer, did you have an advantage being a running back? Were you faster than every?
Well, I wasn't fast. There were some fast guys out there. I wasn't as fast as them, but I think the advantage of having a sports background is you're used to being active. And
it sounds like you're on the bike patrol and you're out and about. So
I think to be an officer, you really have to be physically fit. You have to be really willing to go out there and be active, and because you may have to chase somebody, and unfortunately some of the bad guys are really fast. But the good thing is you just have to keep them in sight. Call for your friends. Use your radio. Call for your friends. We have a lot of resources that help us, and whether it's calling for additional resources from the sheriff's office or our partners at the other police departments, if you call for help, we have a lot of people that are going to come help us.
Yeah. Over your time at OPD, are there any cases or anything that really stick out that you remember that you could say, you know what, it was because of me that I really helped somebody, or I'm really glad we got this person off the street? Or
I won't say it's because of me. I would just say I think police work is a team, a team function. There's a couple of cases. I mean, I was involved in it actually didn't occur here. The crime didn't occur here, but we caught the guy here. A gentleman, I shouldn't say a gentleman, a suspect killed his wife in Las Vegas.
Oh.
And went on the run. And eventually he was tracked to Orlando because I guess he was still using the internet, things like that. So the FBI was able to track him to Orlando, and they tracked him to a hotel in the city limits of Orlando, and they called us for assistance on arresting him, and me and actually time my recruit and a couple additional officers on my squad, we went there to his apartment and were able to arrest him. So and then we got a chance to go out to Las Vegas to testify.
Oh, wow.
In his murder case, and turned out he not only did he kill his wife, but his mother also died, which I think they ended up charging him with her death, but his mother died and he was collecting her Social Security.
Oh, okay.
So they ended up charging him with 2 counts of murder. I think he ended up taking a plea. So they didn't do the death penalty, but it's kind of cool. I think that case eventually made Dateline or one of those type of shows.
All right. Did you get interviewed for that too?
I did not get interviewed for that, but it was cool enough just to go out there and and be involved in a case where, hey, there's a person who killed somebody. He's been all over the country, traveling and possibly it could have been victimizing other people, and then he lands here in Orlando and we're able to arrest him. But it was, like I said, it's not just me. It was the FBI and their local task force agents found the guy, tracked him here. They let us know, and then me and a group of officers from the police department went, and we were able to arrest him. So.
And you were on the SWAT team as well?
Yep, I did 17 years on a SWAT team, and everything from I started off as an entry person, I became a sniper, did eventually a team leader, a deputy team commander, and I ended my career. I served 3 years as the team commander.
Okay, all right. So you did 22 years at OPD,
Right?
And then this opportunity came along after Sheriff Mina was elected back in November.
Right.
Was there any? Did you want to stay at OPD, or was it always like, you know what, this looks like a great job, I really want to go work at the sheriff's office, or did you want to stay over there?
I mean,
obviously you're not there now, so I know you did.
My intention, when he was running, my intention was to stay at the Atlanta Police Department. I had 22 years there. I planned on probably staying until the 28-year mark, something like that. So I plan on finishing out my career at OPD, but I think when he called and said, hey, I want you to come over, and I looked at everything, and the opportunity was just too good to pass up. I think the Sheriff's Office is an outstanding agency, very professional, and to have a chance to come here and learn this agency and be a part of it and make some things better and improve on little things here and there and just be a part of a great agency, I couldn't pass that up.
What was your last job at OPD?
I was the deputy chief over the Administrative Services Bureau.
Okay. So then now you're undersheriff here at the sheriff's office. How's your job different from your last job at OPD?
It's a lot more responsibility. I think I didn't really realize, like, Orlando is a very big agency.
Oh, yeah.
It's like 1,000 people total.
Second biggest, I like to say.
Yeah.
Second largest.
Well, it's 800 sworn, about 230, 240 civilian employees. The sheriff's office is 2,500 employees.
Yeah, 1,600 sworn, and
it's huge. I mean, it's so much bigger, and I don't think I realized that, but it's a bigger challenge. It's a lot more responsibility, bigger challenge. The sheriff's office does some things that police departments don't have to do.
Like what?
We have the court. The courthouse is one.
Oh yeah, I just did a video on the courthouse deputies.
So we're in control of all of our assets. So like at the city, we didn't have a full. The police department didn't have a full HR department, human resources department. They depended on the city for that. Here, all the hiring occurs within the sheriff's office.
Yeah, I had to go through that.
So
did you? I'm sure you
I
had
to go through the
well.
same thing. So,
all right.
But it's really good because it's all here, and they have a great process, and they know exactly what they're doing. Other things are like fleet. The sheriff's office controls his own fleet.
Yeah, that's the division that fixes our cars,
fixes and purchases our
go
cars
fast and all that.
Yeah. So, and we have several thousand cars and equipment that they keep track of. So there's a lot of little things like that the police department doesn't have to do solely on their own. They have a lot of help from the city.
But here we got to do all that.
Here, the sheriff's office is like a one-stop shop. We do everything that any other company does.
So what's like your day-to-day like? Like, well, today, I mean, maybe not today, but like, what's your day-to-day like?
Come in, depending on the day, I may have some meetings first thing in the morning with the senior staff, and then may have meetings with some of my direct reports and give me updates on what's going on in each of their divisions or bureaus. I may have to go out and like this morning I had to go out to an event to represent the sheriff and speak to a group of people in a training conference. So every day is kind of different. So just you come in, you look at the calendar, and luckily I have someone who helps me keep track of my calendar.
Yeah. see
what's on the schedule, and then you always have to be ready for things that pop up. So there's always something, an event can happen, whether like last week we had a deputy that was injured during training. So
yeah.
we canceled our crime control meeting and went to the hospital to check on him. So every day is a little bit different, which I think is what makes law enforcement great, because no day is the same. So
yeah, and if you think it's going to be the same,
yeah, it's
something
always,
happens.
So even though I'm not working the road like some of our road deputies anymore, every day at the sheriff's office is a different day, and I think that makes it exciting. I think that's why after 22 years, I still like coming to work.
Yeah. So the other a few weeks ago, I think in the end of July, Sheriff Mina went out of town on vacation. I think he finally got a vacation. I don't know where he went, but he went on vacation. And if I recall, you're in charge then
Yes.
when he's on vacation. Is that one of the roles of undersheriff?
That is one of the roles I fill in for him.
You're like the vice president.
Yes, when he's out of town or unavailable, I fill in for him, and I run the agency for him. So I make the decisions based on what I think. What I think is best for the residents and the agency, but also what I know he would like to see the agency, the direction he would like to see the agency go.
Yeah. Do you go sit in his chair?
No, I do not. I do sit in his chair in staff meetings, but not in his office. So.
Just kidding. So you've been here 6 months. What have you learned since you got here?
This is an outstanding agency. Like I said, it's very professional. The men and women that work here are some of the best in law enforcement across the country, if not the world. So it is a joy to come to work every day. I'm kind of rejuvenated. Like I said, probably the worst part of my day is driving to work in traffic. And then once I get here, everything is good. Like there's no bad day. There's nothing that really gets me down. It's just it's an awesome place to work.
What about going forward? What do you want to do looking ahead 6 months or a year? What do you hope to achieve here at the sheriff's office?
Well, I'm still learning the sheriff's office. There are some differences between here and the police department. I'm still learning the sheriff's office, and I just, honestly, I just want to be a valued member of the agency and make decisions that are going to be best, not only for the men and women of the agency, but best for this community, best for Orange County. How
about when you're not working? What do you like to do?
I have 3 daughters, two of which are 11 and 9.
One of them's a voracious reader. Every time I see her, she has a book with her.
I just went to the store and I bought her, I think, 2 book series, which I think are a total of 9 books. So she's already halfway through one of them. So, but yeah, so they keep me busy. One is involved. The reader is involved in. She does CrossFit.
Okay.
She does that one day a week, but she's also in the dance, so she likes ballet and tap. She particularly likes tap, so she does that. And then my 9-year-old, she's a competition cheerleader.
Okay.
So she does that. So that keeps me pretty busy. My other daughter, she's 25, so she's trying to find herself and become as me and my wife call it, a solid citizen and making contributions to our community.
How about you though? What do you like to do? Do you have a hobby or?
I watch a lot of TV.
Okay.
I do like to work out, so I do CrossFit and I do lift weights. I also, from my time on SWAT, I am into shooting sports, so I like to shoot. So
like just targets or like clay pigeons? Or?
Just targets.
I've
done some clay stuff. That's actually pretty fun, but just target shooting, just it kind of relaxes my mind, and it's a perishable skill, and it's a skill that, hey, you can to put several rounds in a bullseye, I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So.
Do you miss being on patrol?
I do. I think because, like I said, that's the backbone. I think you're out there. You get to interact the most with our residents. Unfortunately, sometimes you see them when they're at their worst, when they're victims of crimes. But if you follow us on social media, you'll see all the good things that are going out there. Where you're seeing deputies playing basketball with kids, or helping out at a lemonade stand, or just helping someone get across a parking lot or cut their grass. There's a lot of good things that the deputies do. So you kind of miss that and having that interaction with people. But I do like what I do now, being able to kind of direct and guide the agency in a good way and make it a positive agency.
All right. Well, Undersheriff Canty,
thanks for listening.
I appreciate
Don't
the time.
forget
I know
to
you're a busy
subscribe
man.
to Behind
so
the Star.
Thank you for
You
being
can
on
find
this
us
week's
wherever
episode of
you get
Behind
your
the Star,
favorite
and
podcast.
we'll see you guys next
Also,
week.
follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Until next time, I'm Jon Busdeker, and this is Behind the Star.